you're not being ungrateful. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm definitely saying is like you definitely should take a step back maybe and like look and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like the story that you'll be able to tell your kids of where you were at 30. Someone told me this and I'll tell you the same thing. Everything that you're going to want when you're 70, you literally have right now. You have the 2 kids that love you, the beautiful wife, young, money, company. Yeah, everything you're going to want when you're 70, you literally have right now.
Don't try it. You can't feed me lies, won't buy it. Question everything.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Winners Only, where we talk to people winning at business, life, relationships, whatever the case may be. We have on Felipe Mejia. I actually am super excited to have Felipe because I think Felipe was one of the guys that actually saw me at the beginning when I started my entrepreneurship journey. Wow. I was in the military. I joined his old mastermind rat race to FI, and at the time that was a big commitment. $300 a month was like 10 to 15% of my paycheck.
Was it $300 a month?
It was $290, I think I was paying a month.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. But
sorry about that.
No, you're good. It was worth it. I met people, and it kind of led me to what I'm doing now. In a way, it opened up my mind a lot. I think to just the way that I saw the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool to like be here 5 years later and
tables have turned.
Yeah,
big table, dude.
It's interesting. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, man. Happy to have you on.
Thanks, man. It means a lot. I really wanted to do this podcast because rarely do I get to go back in time and talk to people that I've influenced in their life in a positive. That sounded terrible. I was gonna say in a positive way, but like to see the change and be able to get here and like sit across the table and like listen to some of the things that you're doing. I'm like, man, that's really cool. Because just like you said, sure, it was a $300 a month investment, which is a lot, right?
Yeah.
But we were talking earlier in the other office how there's like a lot of people that will pay that kind of money and even more. They'll pay 30, 40 grand for a mastermind. And then you meet them 3, 4, 5 years later and they didn't do anything with it. And in fact, they regret being in that mastermind.
Yeah.
And I think you did it differently. You went in and was like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to meet other people, see what other people are doing. And then I'm going to try those things and, look at where you're at now.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that, like that you'll see them in the same position 3 to 5 years later. Because recently I was going through I call it like a social media cleanse where I go through everybody that I'm following and I unfollow people who just are not bettering my life.
Sure.
And like, not going to obviously say names, but like there's some people that I met in that mastermind and I followed them or I went and like looked at what they're doing and they're doing the same shit. And I was like, one of them was funny because I remember you guys had a 21-day challenge, a posting challenge. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
And I remember that the last video was the 21st video of that challenge, and that was 3 years ago.
Wow.
Or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, holy fuck, yeah, she isn't. What the fuck? Why am I following this? Like, So it's like, yeah, people like join masterminds and they're all hype, but then they don't go and take that extra step. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I saw it recently as of like a week ago because I actually went and unfollowed a bunch of people.
I should probably do that too. It's interesting to me on the other side as a coach because I love to coach.
Yeah.
And people tell me all the time, like, is it worth it? Is it worth the money? And I tell people, like, let's break this down. I'll break it down for you. So, like, right now I'm known for doing my one-on-ones. So I do a lot of one-on-ones. The one-on-ones, I don't know if I ever said this publicly. My one-on-ones are $3 grand. They're a full 8-hour day with me. People are like, oh, you must be killing it. I'm like, well, let's break that down. If you break down $3,000 one time for an 8-hour day, what does that break down to hourly? Somewhere around $250 an hour.
Yeah.
Great payment too, right? But then I also do weekly calls every single week, once every Sunday for an hour with those people, lifetime. So that quickly dwindles down to like. So I tell people like, look, if you're going to get in the industry of coaching, if you're going to help other people, know that if you're doing it just for the money, you're going to have to keep getting new people and fleshing people, and you're going to end up building like one of those type of brands, right? We were talking about that earlier without saying names of like people who have just built brands over like shoving courses and masterminds and things down people's throat. And then I wonder, like, okay, if you go back 2 years, get the list of everybody you sold something to, how many people have you positively impacted? Like, that would be a statistic that I would want to see from some of these, like, big guru guys.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm interested to, like, see that statistic, but it's also, like, they don't want to see it because that would expose them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They would never go and look for that data because they'd be like, oh, we can't. Because I know people personally that were in my cohort, like of the masterminds that I was in, they're not doing shit. Yeah. And I'm like, what's the point of joining these things if you're not going to do it? But I think a lot of these masterminds have become just entertainment. Like people just go to like feel the, let's go, but they don't actually do shit. And I'm like, nobody wants to get in the trenches. Nobody wants to take the risk. Like, because last year, Rude, like I think in the 5 years that I've actually been in business, 5, 6 years, last year was like, it's going to be like my worst year ever. But like to be able to, like, I kind of, it's like a chip on my shoulder. Like I'm going to burn a lot of cash, but I think I took more lessons in the last year than the 4 previous years that I did well. Like I think my biggest loss will be last year, but I think I learned the most.
That's
and I think
crazy.
nobody wants to fucking lose. Everybody's too scared to like, everybody's hoarding their money. And I'm kind of doing that now because I'm building a new business. So I'm just like hoarding a little bit of cash, but I'm like, fuck, like, should I deploy it? And I'm like, okay, well, I have the cash flow, so maybe I shouldn't deploy. So I'm playing a different game now, but it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm getting to, but the point is people don't want to play.
What advice would you give? And I know this is your podcast, but I'm curious. Like, what advice would you give to people that join masterminds for them to take action?
Yeah.
Because you took massive action from 4 years ago, I think, when you first came to Rat Race.
Yeah.
To like what you're doing now. Podcast studio. You're flying private. You own your own plane.
Yeah.
Like, walk us through that. Like, I'm super curious from the student side now.
Yeah.
Getting to as far as you're at, like, what advice do you give to people that are like just starting out and wanting to learn?
I don't know if I was just like blessed with like my personality, but I just think it's like, it's not really the knowledge. Like in these masterminds, it's the knowledge is important, but like truthfully, I feel like it's the fact that I made connections. It's the fact that I like put my fucking face out there.
Yeah.
Like I made sure that I was like, I don't even know how I did it via this. I remember these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
But like, there's people that would recognize my name, and I don't know why. Like, I think I just like interacted more. Like I really just like tried to be in the front.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old school, like sit in the front row type thing.
Yep.
Like I just remembered, like if you're going to a mastermind or an event, the people in the back, why the fuck are you sitting in the back?
You paid just as much as people in the front.
Unless they section
unless
it off.
they rope it off.
Yeah.
Right.
But like typically a lot of them are open seating, and then I see motherfuckers in the back, and I'm like, why are you here? like you're like I don't know, and I don't know if that answers the question, but I feel it's like
does.
If you're gonna pay for something, meet the fucking people. Like that's what I feel like I paid for.
Yeah,
like when I got to Vegas, I paid for a mastermind, knowing that I didn't even want to do real estate. I just knew that there was people who ran businesses in this mastermind. I fucking forked over the money, and I met one guy that introduced me to another guy that introduced me to Josh, and now that's how I'm in business with Josh. And it's like, I think I technically paid for like the courses and the events, but that wasn't the value for me. The value was the connections. And now I've been in Vegas 2.5 years, and I feel like I'm pretty well connected. I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And even like one of my buddies, Leland, on the fucking camera, he's like, how the fuck do you know that guy? I was like, I don't know. We just know each other. Like there's like another agent in Vegas where he's like a pretty big listing agent for one of the biggest flippers in town. They do like 160 to 200 deals a year.
Wow.
And like Kevin, he's a good buddy of mine now. He brought me a cake, and I remember that day specifically because Leland was like, "What the fuck? This guy brought you a cake?" And I was like, "I don't know, bro. We met playing pickleball. Like I'm just talking to people. Like that's it." Like
it's interesting. Me on the other side, I'm not good at connections long term.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very surface.
Yeah.
I'm not deep. Like I have a very, very small group of like deep friends. I do a lot of surface, and I try to help a lot of people start their journey. And then I'll help to answer questions and stuff, but I'm not good at building like the deep connections. And I know that that's where like, it's about who you know, right?
Yeah.
But it's also about what you apply.
Mm-hmm.
So I've took advantage a lot of like learning a lot of stuff, meeting a lot of people, not necessarily building deep connections, but definitely applying some of the things that those people are doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, what are you doing? So I learn. I'm like, all right, awesome. Go back, try to apply it to my business. Like we were just in your Tesla talking about the plat split thing that you're doing with one of the houses, which you're cash flowing like 10K or something. Like that's wild.
on one house.
On one house, definitely want to run into that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get home. Me and my VA are going to jump in the Zoom call, and we're going to be like, all right, I need you to research like plat split, see what it's like in Nashville. Like, what are we doing? So it's just like implementing quickly what people are doing to like continuing to grow and scale.
I think that's important as well because like, excuse me, the pad split thing was obviously like I was telling you I couldn't figure out. I was like, how do I make this thing cash flow? And somebody gave me the idea of the storage thing in the back. Mm-hmm. But like the next day I was taking action. Like the next day I was like, how do I do this? Like let me just list it. Let me figure it out. Let me fuck up on the way. And I did fuck up on the way. I told you that I went from the RVs to the illegal RVs. So
but it's interesting because you took 3 large L's there. So we should talk about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've talked about it on your podcast or
not.
Yeah, no,
I could talk about it. Yeah.
Because like most people. So here's what happens with some of my students. They'll like hit me up and they'll be like, Felipe, I went to the bank because you said I can get a line of credit on the equity of my property, and banks like need it. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, I went to a bank and they said no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How many banks is there in your area? Google it, like 400 banks. So you went to one. Got it. Call me when you've been to 399 more, and then let's talk about fixing the problem.
Yeah.
So like and I think that happens a lot with real estate, and why people fail. I honestly have seen that is like they do a flip, make no money, and they never flip again.
Yeah.
Or buy one rental, it doesn't cash flow one of the months out of the 12, and they're like, this is terrible. And I'm like, dude, like that's not how it works. Everyone wants this like get rich quick because they feel like they paid for it.
Yeah.
They'll go to an event, pay some money, pay a $30,000 mastermind. Excuse me. First deal doesn't work out and they just quit.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, that like no, you'll never make it in life, because if you feel like you paid for some coaching and it should work day one, like that's not how that works. You forget that coach you paid has been doing this like me almost a decade now.
Yeah.
Like I got a lot of like my mentor told me, his name is Dom, he lives in Canada now. He told me, he's like, Felipe, coaching is a two-edged sword because they're gonna love you until they hate you. I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, well, they're going to love you as you're giving them all this knowledge, as you're explaining all these things to them. But the moment it doesn't work the exact way that it's working for you,
You're the bad guy.
you're the bad guy.
Yep.
And I was like, he's like, yeah, so just, if you're aware of that, you'll be fine, because you'll know that eventually that person's not going to like fully like you. And unless they get past that, they're just going to get stuck to not liking you.
Well, I even saw that in the e-com world while I was in it, because you were there.
Yeah,
we were showing people how to make money. We were making money for them. And as soon as things go the wrong way,
As soon as it
everybody's so quick to like, oh, you're a scammer. I'm like, motherfucker.
We've made money for all these months.
Yeah.
And then 1 month you don't make money.
Yeah, we're the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the pressure of people is why ecom did, because I know people right now. For example, big shout out to Leo Horacio, Leo Ecom.
Yeah.
He is doing, and I think the reason he's doing so well is because so many people. Do you know this guy?
I think I've seen you tag him a couple
Yeah,
times.
let me show you after the podcast.
Yeah.
Leo Horacio is doing, I don't want to talk about his numbers, but let's just say he bought an SVJ 1 month, the next month's a Bugatti.
Yeah.
And like the only reason was because he could.
Yeah.
And all he's doing is what we were doing, ecom, and he's doing stores for other people.
Yeah.
But they're making money. But what happened is he weathered the storm.
Yeah.
He went through the other side.
Yeah.
Cancellations, stores getting shut down.
Yeah.
Like he just kept going and he didn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
And now I feel like he's got all the people that like left other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Because they just wouldn't weather the storm.
Yeah.
Now he's making them tons of money. He
Yeah.
makes tons of money.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I've just been doing it.
Yeah.
Like I went through the same storm everyone else went through.
Yeah.
Of the shutdowns and like all the things.
It's just like nobody wants to take the L though. They get spooked.
That's it.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the reasons I was I had the warehouses here. I was doing the FBA stuff, and it was going well. But like truthfully, it was like just as cliche as it sounds, it was like not fulfilling. I was like, bro, I'm in this warehouse. Like this is trash. Like it's just not like it wasn't the lifestyle that I was trying to build. Like the money was okay. I was burning some at some points, but like I saw the projection and the growth. But I was like, I'm young enough to like if I want to switch, I can switch and still
Probably
be fine.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he still has the warehouse.
Yeah.
He like everything you're talking about, he does. Like he still has the warehouse. One of his offices is in the warehouse.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But like you said, it's just that's what he decided the route that he wanted to take. And then that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But let's get back to the L's because that's why this conversation started. Because you went through L after L after L on this house, and now it's producing high cash flow.
Yeah.
So run the listeners. This is your podcast, not mine.
No, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear the story.
So essentially, I couldn't figure out how to make this property cash flow. And my first, like, somebody dropped the idea in my head, like, hey, like, I'm renting currently to an RV at my house, and that gives me an extra $700 a month. And I was like, oh, I have a ton of land. I can go fucking fit 7 motherfuckers in the backyard. So I put 8 RVs in the backyard illegally. I didn't know it was illegal. Code enforcement caught me.
Know.
Yeah, I didn't know it was illegal. But I had RV hookups put in. I had like the plumbing put in, everything. And for like 2 or 3 months, I was making $6,000 a month from the backyard from all these RVs, and that was paying my. Why did you just put your logo?
It's like, you know what? This is getting really good. Let me change something. I love this stuff.
But freaking yeah, it turned into I got caught by code enforcement. Code enforcement shut me down, so I had to get all these people to move. But now I have to go through evictions because 2 people didn't want to leave. So then I got the evictions done. After that, I'm like, and I'm burning cash these months because I'm not.
You're paying mortgages, all the things.
And then I finally get all the RVs out. So then I go do storage for RVs. Turns out that's also illegal. And I'm doing $150 just for storage.
Why didn't you quit? Why didn't you sell the place? Because I'm gonna ask you the questions the listeners are probably wondering. Why didn't he just sell it? Like, why try again and again and again? You're burning cash.
Yeah.
It's not working. Why not just sell it?
I could have sold it because I when I bought it, I put 20% down. So I put down like 180K to get into this house, or 120K, plus 60 for the new roof and shit. But I could have sold it, but like I just knew Vegas is on the up right now. So I was like, if I don't make money cash flowing, I know there's appreciation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let me just risk it. So that was kind of the reason.
Got it.
But the storage thing gets shut down. So then I had, I think, 18 just storage, 150 a month in the backyard, and that was finally making some money. Boom. Code enforcement says, fuck you, get all this shit off here. I was like, what? It's my fucking land.
Yeah.
So then I find out that cars are perfectly legal. So I just start parking cars. $100 a car, $100 a trailer. And I have some people reach out to me. I have a storage container now. Everything I found the code enforcement website that tells me what's legal, and I made sure I'm within guidelines now.
Now you should have done that too.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So now the backyard, as of right now, spits out $4,600 a month, and the front of the house spits out $10,000 about, and the backyard pays my mortgage, and the front of the house is all profit, so I'm cash flowing about $10,000.
That's crazy.
And then
Make that a social media post. You're gonna get so much hate. He's lying. And you can buy his course for $9.99.
But yeah, and then the coolest part is I still have land.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly adding a little bit of cash flow.
Sure.
I think once it's like I've measured it, I think once it's fully optimized, I can do 18K out of this property and cash flow 12, 13.
I gave you another idea on the Tesla.
Yeah.
I think you should shade off those cars.
Yeah.
And charge, like if you're charging 100, what I would do is I would create FOMO and create like half of them shaded and be like, hey, that's 100 for that pad. This pad's 150 with shade. Why shade? Because the car's not getting beat up by the sun all day.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's not a bad idea. I might have to go
might
do
throw
that.
that out there, you know?
I'm gonna have to save up some of the cash flow to go build the
I don't think
stuff.
those are expensive. It's just
I feel
4x4 studs or the frame.
Yeah.
All the way in the back, every 6 feet, all the way in, and then in the front, and you just carve out where the cars are at. You just tick, 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 and that's it. I don't feel like it's that expensive.
We'll have to go and you'll have to see what I'm doing. But yeah, man, that was it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy because I feel like a lot of times that's where people mess up is they change. So I made a post about this the other day. Is like rich people change who they are, not the goal, right? And like that's what you did. I think your goal was the same, cash flow. You just changed yourself of how to get there. It's like it's not going to be tenants, it's not going to be RVs, it's not going to. You just kept pushing, and you knew this property would produce. You just had to figure out how.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's why you're probably crushing it so, bud. It's because you're like you didn't just give up. You didn't just change the goal.
Well, yeah, I think initially I was chasing the equity, like with all the properties I was buying. Because I was telling you, I was like up to 7 rentals, and now I'm down to 3, but my cash flow is better, which is it's kind of funny.
Yep.
But I was like, I had a bunch of equity in these houses in Texas, and I was like, bro, why am I like, why? They're spitting out a few $100s a month. It was like stupid.
Doesn't change your life.
It is whatever. I was like, fuck it. I'd rather, which is stupid. I get it in a way. But I was like, I'll collect a $50,000 check for each one, put that somewhere out here that I know how to make it work better. So
let's make this podcast fun. I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that because I've recently had a really different realization.
Okay.
So for the last 7 years, and I purposely didn't say this in Tesla because I was gonna wait for the recording.
Okay.
I've been chasing cash flow, and you know me. You've known me for 4 or 5 years now, so you only didn't know 2 years of my investing. But I started out with cash flow. Like I just pursued cash flow. I was in the back of a U-Haul unloading trucks, Ubering in the evenings, and like that's how I started my career. So clearly, I needed cash flow to get out of that. So I'm not saying that it was wrong.
Yeah.
But now that I'm on what I like to call like the second wave of my investing, I feel like I'm starting over. But I have this, like I'm not selling.
You have a foundation.
Yeah. So I'm like starting again type of thing. And I'm like, okay, rates are going, I know the world doesn't think, but rates are moving downward in my position where they used to be 9. Now I'm getting 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a huge jump. So I'm starting to cash out, refinance some of my equity. So I'm realizing, because I've done the math, that I'm losing not losing, that's the wrong word. I'm not getting what I should have because, for example, let's say that I bought a house, right? And I wanted cash flow, so I converted the basement into more cash flow.
Yep.
Let's say that conversion cost me $30,000.
Yeah.
The down payment on the house to buy it though was $50,000. So if I have 2 houses and I converted 2 basements, which I did, which gave me an additional $2,000 per house in cash flow.
Yeah.
Great, that's another $4,000, right? But now that I'm 8 years in, where I'm going through the second cycle of my investing, and I'm able to cash out refinance, you still didn't catch it. Well, the problem is I should have bought 4 houses
because those houses
instead of 2.
the garage conversion doesn't add as much value.
It
As,
doesn't add, if any.
Yeah.
That money I could have used as down payments for more houses.
Yeah.
Where right now, think about it this way. This is year 9 for me.
Yeah.
So if I go back to year 1 and I only bought 2 houses, I'm cash out refinancing 2 houses.
Yeah.
Year 10 of my, so next year I'll cash out refinance year 2 of my investing.
Yeah.
And I could have had double the amount of houses appreciate over 8 years instead of just running for cash flow. Now, I'm not saying that cash flow is the wrong answer because it did get me out of Ubering and like it's like when rich people say money doesn't make you happy. It's like, well, yeah, because you're rich.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can't say that to somebody that doesn't have money because of course it will. I think it's a lie.
For sure.
I think having money has definitely made me more happy.
Yeah.
Because I can't feed my son without money. You know what I mean? Like the things that make me happy require money. Yeah. So I actually do believe that money does make you happy. Now, if you go be a drunk with it, well, then maybe not. But so the way that I'm looking at it now is like, okay, so I had to sacrifice cash flow then, or I had to sacrifice equity then versus cash flow that I needed then at the same time. Yeah. So hindsight's always 20/20. I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought 4 houses instead of 2.
Yeah, but then wouldn't you say if you had done that, your cash flow would have been less?
I probably still would have been at the job longer time.
That's what I was saying. Like, it would have affected your lifestyle earlier. You would have not gotten like the better lifestyle sooner, I guess. If that makes sense. And if that's what you're trying to give your son at a young age, right? So there's pros and cons. I can see
100%. And I think the only thing that I'm doing now differently is I'm buying in higher neighborhoods because in the next 8 years, I do want to like let's say that this year I'll cash out refi $800,000, tax free. I look at it, I'm like that could have been $2 million. Yeah. And like $800,000, $2 million, that's very different. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, now I've established my family, I've established all the things. Now I'm going to be way more targeted on what I buy versus just for cash flow. And it might be because I can give myself that luxury now. Yeah,
because I mean, for me, I'm like, my number that I want to get to before the end of this year is I want to hit like 20K in cash flow. I'm like 16-ish with, I count my disability as cash flow, even though it's not, but it's guaranteed income. Whatever.
It's cash flow.
So, and after that, I think, because I'm sitting on like a ton of cash. I don't want to, but at the same time, in this new business that I'm building, it's not a cash intensive business, which is nice. It's a service based business. Sure. So like once I have it built and I have the people in place, it's just feeding it. And it doesn't take more of my cash to make the business run, which is why one of the reasons I've never leaned towards real estate, which maybe I'm just bitch, but like I don't like dishing out my cash to go make cash. Like I was like, I want to go do something service based, which is why the e-com stuff kind of worked. I can run it on credit. Yep. This is working and it's great. But I'm sitting on like $350 to $400K in cash right now, and I'm like, okay, that's a lot of cash to just be having on the sidelines. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'll just go put it in a high yield savings, make 5%, whatever, and off my cash flow now and what I'm doing now, I can live a nice life. And then once that's ready to deploy, then I can deploy.
I would, let's see, if I had 350 sitting on the sidelines. So I'm basically talking to myself right now. What I would do is I would buy 2 or 3 houses in high appreciating markets that are giving you more than 5% yield from a bank. And what I would do is I wouldn't worry about cash flow. Yeah. And then what I would do is I'd put a line of credit on it and use it as needed if you need it for the business. But you know the return. So like let's say the return on, let's say you buy one of those houses is 10, 15%, I don't know, annually. Then you know how much you can use out of the line of credit back to cash, but you know the cash is working. Yeah. And I think in a real estate, it's going to be working better than just sitting in a 5% bank.
See, that's funny because like my partner, I think you guys would have a fun debate because he doesn't give a fuck about equity. And right now he's cash flowing $80K a month. Yeah. And he's like, why don't you just go buy 5 houses? And I think he invests in St. Joseph, Missouri. Yeah, Missouri. And he's like $50K a pop. You'll cash flow $1,000 each, $5,000 a month right there. Yeah, I'm like, okay. No. But then I'm like, but the appreciation. Yeah. So I see both sides. Yeah. That's why I think you guys would have a fun conversation.
I agree with him to a certain extent. And the only reason, how long has he been investing?
He's been in the game 18, 20 years.
Okay, so he's doing big. So
he's 38.
Yeah, so he knows more than me. I would probably submit to what he's got just because he's more knowledgeable. Yeah. But what I would say is that like the people that I trust and follow, like for example Thatch on Instagram, right? Thatch is all about building a foundation first and then building towards equity. Yeah. I think I've built my foundation. Yeah. So maybe that's why now I feel comfortable saying, hey, I'm going to buy for appreciation. Yeah. Doesn't mean that they don't cash flow though. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Don't say that I'm going to do negative cash flow. Yeah. Like I'm looking $200-300, but that's obviously not going to change my life. Yeah. But as long as the property can sustain and it's an appreciating market, probably be okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not buying $50,000-$60,000 homes though, because
Yeah.
I don't want to be 10 years down the road and that house is worth $75,000.
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
woo, like,
And that's what I've told. Like, I hear it because Josh obviously has other real estate investors on, and
Yeah.
and he's like, no, I hear everybody, but like, he's like, I don't want to be worth, 50 million. I want 100K a month, and I'm good. Like, I think it's like it depends on your goals.
yeah, no, that's very true. I don't think I have a net worth thing.
Yeah,
either.
he's like, I don't have a net worth goal. I have
Me
a
neither.
cash flow goal, and that's it. He's like, I don't
agree.
give a fuck if I'm worth $0 and I cash flow 100K a month. So it's a weird, I feel like
that'd be a really good conversation. I'm super.
I feel like you guys. I'm gonna try to make. I'll try
Yeah.
to schedule it for Monday, and I'll make sure I'm on there.
We
so I
should
can
have had a
listen.
3-way. Pause.
Yeah.
No Diddy.
I'd be power bottom, but anyway.
That would be really good because you could mediate. You could be like,
Yeah.
well, what about this and what about that? Because
Yeah.
your brain is kind of like getting stretched both
Well,
ways.
yeah, 'cause
I
yeah.
can see why you haven't spent the money.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense if you're still thinking both sides.
Yeah, and truthfully, I also haven't spent it because I'm not a real estate investor anymore. It's, or an active real estate investor.
Yeah.
I'm not flipping or wholesaling. When
Sure.
you're in the flipping wholesale game, you get more opportunities and you can buy
Right.
rentals. I'm focused right now in building a digital marketing company.
Yep.
And it's like my like 98% of my bandwidth is going there.
Sure.
So it's like I don't have time to go look for rentals and shit. Like
Yep.
I'm just stacking. I'm not happy and content with, but like I'm comfortable. I hate the word comfortable.
Yeah.
But like I like where I'm at,
Yeah.
and I have enough of a passive income to focus on building this business. Because
Right.
we're like 8 months old, so it's like we're still getting going.
You guys are crushing
So
it, dude.
we're-
I see
yeah.
your stuff everywhere.
So yeah, man. I mean, well, looking at me, I mean, you saw 5 years what I've done. Like, if you could, at my age, what piece of advice would you give me? Because I'm like,
yeah.
I'm about to hit 30, and part of me is like insecure about that. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck, I'm 30.
Well, I would. So 2 things.
Okay.
Let's stroke the ego first. Think about that. You're only 30.
Yeah.
You're Hispanic. You have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful children. You're a pilot.
Yeah.
You own a media company. You have a podcast channel, and you have people around you that love you and support you.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be 1% of 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
So I would sit back in gratitude, and not like, you're not being ungrateful. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what
Yeah.
I'm definitely saying is like you definitely should take a step back maybe and like look and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like the story that you'll be able to tell your kids of where you were at 30. Someone told me this, and I'll tell you the same thing.
Go on.
Everything that you're going to want when you're 70, you literally have right now. You have the 2 kids that love you, the beautiful wife, young, money, company. Yeah, everything you're going to want when you're 70, you literally have right now. So 1, I would say take a second and like appreciate that. Now, like you said earlier, so now that that's out of the way, take the word comfortable out of this. And it's like, what can I do with the next 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Like what you've done, because you've built this in the last 4. It didn't take you 30.
Yeah.
It took you maybe 4 years, right?
Yeah. The first year was just falling on my face.
Jack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that should tell you like, what can you do in the next 4 or 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, I mean, whatever that looks like, maximize that. But then what I would say is like, do things that your 60-year-old self is going to thank you for.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those things for me is buying, appreciating assets.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm 60, I'm going to be like, hell yeah, Felipe, thanks at 33. You bought houses that maybe immediately didn't give you cash flow, but you sacrificed for us now. You know what I mean? So it's like, no more am I looking for the $1,000 a month cash flow, because it's not like $1,000 more isn't going to like change my life. So at 60, I'm going to thank myself for buying some of these houses that I'm starting to buy now that are in like prime locations, because like, it's like, then they will cash flow a bunch of money. Plus they're going to be worth a lot of money. And I don't have to wait till 60. Obviously it'll be the next 10, 15 years. So that would be the other piece of advice I would give you is like,
But what's that number?
yeah,
Like,
I would. Okay. I got a perfect answer for this because I'm a coach, right?
In,
So-
in terms of like when I get to X amount of cash
Nope,
flow.
I got the perfect answer.
Okay.
You ready for it? And this, I only tell this to high net worth individuals who are making a bunch of cash. Just make it a very simple math problem. Get your emotion out of it. Ready for this? Talk to your CPA every 3 months and say, hey, CPA person 1, I made $200,000 these last 3 months. What's my tax implication on that? They're going to say, oh, you're in the 30% tax bracket. You're probably going to pay around 60 grand on that. Awesome. Thank you. Bookkeeper. How much cash do we have? Bookkeeper. We have this amount. Great. I need 60 is what I'm going to pay in taxes. So instead of putting that away, like most people tell you, oh, put it away for taxes. No, I would take that 60K, put it as a down payment in an appreciating asset, cost segregate that house, and now you don't have that $60,000 tax implication.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't do anything else. Grind in your media company. Next quarter, CPA. How much did we make? Dude, you made 4 Hondo. You crushed it.
Yeah.
Great. Bookkeeper. How much cash do we have? Bookkeeper. How much cash do we have from that money?
Yeah.
X amount. Great. You owe 150K in taxes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Wholesaler. I need a house in that neighborhood over there. Great. Now you dump that cash over there. You don't pay taxes on it. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm doing now.
But what's your active business right now?
So my active business right now is going to be
Abacus, right?
I don't really have active. Well, yes. So
Like-
we could talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So Abacus is my bookkeeping company.
Okay.
Right? So my bookkeeping company came from the lack of in the market. I couldn't find a bookkeeper that was real estate friendly, but also like everyone just wants to save you money.
Yeah.
Because that's like their job, right? It's like, oh, I saved you $100,000 this year in taxes. Woohoo!
But then you can't
go to the
qualify for
bank
shit.
and yeah, you can't. You're not bankable.
Yeah.
Like you didn't show anything.
Yeah.
And I always thought that that was the CPA's fault. And then I always thought it was the bookkeeper's fault. And then I realized, no, it's my fault. Because my bookkeeper and my CPA and my lender were not on the same page.
Yeah.
And then I realized even deeper that CPAs are like doctors, bookkeepers are like nurses, right? Your nurse does 90% of the work. Your doctor just signs off on the
Yeah.
prescription.
Yes.
There, all
There you
right.
go.
I keep wanting to say subscription. Anyways, so I was like, okay, I need to start a bookkeeping company that helps real estate investors or small business owners reach their goal. So what we do, like when somebody signs up for Abacus, they'll say like, okay, we're going to do an onboarding call. What is your goal? Well, my goal is to be bankable next year. Great. Let's adjust your books accordingly.
Yeah.
Or like you, if you came on, for example, I would say like, okay, so if you're making X amount, what's your projection for next month or for the next quarter?
Yeah.
X amount. What's your CPA's email? Put us in a thread. Hey, he's going to have this tax implication, give or take a 15% margin of error.
Yeah.
He's going to have a $50,000 tax implication because I'm a real estate investor. I know this because I paid a bunch of taxes. Luis needs to buy one rental property or one business or one something that we can cost segregate so he's offsetting those taxes, but that down payment and that money is going towards an appreciation.
Yeah.
Instead of your money going to the IRS and gone for sure,
Yeah.
it's now in an appreciating market, right? So that's that's why Abacus was born, because I couldn't find a bookkeeping company that would do it. So that's kind of that's what we do.
Yeah.
And you asked me for what advice would I give you. I'm only
Yeah.
3 or 4 years older than you. I've just only been in the game 3 or 4 more years than you, though. That's the only biggest
Yeah.
difference, really. And that's what I've learned now.
Yeah.
I stroked a $150,000 check to the IRS 2 years ago, and I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
That's where that advice comes from. Take my L and
Yeah.
apply it. Like I was like, no, screw this.
Yeah.
My bookkeepers now are like, hey, you made from Abacus, from the sell of REI call center. So I sold my portion of the call center, coaching, maybe a flip or a wholesale deal here and there. Just kind of like all that active put
Yeah.
together. You have this tax implication. Great. I'm just going to go buy a house.
Yeah.
Buy a house and I don't pay taxes on that money.
Yeah.
You can just cost segregate it.
And he just slowly snowballs.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll tell you. Yes, focus on this. 100%. Focus on your business.
But how much? This is where I'm like, sorry. I always use these podcasts as like little mentorship sessions. I'm
Dude,
like, fuck it, I'm just
people
gonna try to
love
learn.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I feel like I need to stop saying that because I always say it. I always use these podcasts as fucking mentorship sessions.
Make that a clip. I'm telling your guy in the back here to make that a clip. That should be like the way it starts.
But like Leland gives me shit all the time because I'm like, I don't know what safety net of cash I need to have, but I'm like, I just want to hoard all the cash. Yeah. And I'm like, should I be? Because I got 2 kids, and I think since I had kids, I'm like, I need fucking cash.
And they're expensive.
Yeah,
dude,
so I'm
kids
just
are
like,
not cheap.
Like some of my buddies are like, oh, we usually keep 20K and the rest we deploy. I'm like, that's
No,
fucking
yeah,
scary.
I can do that.
So I'm like, how much fucking cash do I need with 2 kids and a wife?
So then let me ask you a question then. I know where you're going. Let me ask you a question. Because you're going to say how much cash do I need, right? So define this for me and for your listeners. Okay. Would you rather have cash or access to cash?
Both.
And that's not an answer.
I mean, I would rather have it, but if it's working for me, but access, I think we all have access if you know how to get it.
When you have cash, it's taxable, plain and simple. If you have cash in your bank account right now, it's taxed.
Yeah.
It's being taxed.
Okay.
Okay. So
How? If I already paid taxes on it.
So it's when you go to the grocery store, do you pay taxes?
Oh, sales tax.
You
and
will
shit.
forever pay taxes on that money.
for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So what I would rather have is I have over a $500,000 line of credit upon different LLCs.
Yeah.
Cash, probably $250,000, right? So I have access to more cash than I have cash. And that's always been my thing. I don't ever want to have more taxable cash than what I want to have that I can just go get. So for example, if we have an emergency, God forbid, I don't even want to speak this, but like something happens and you need to take your kid to the hospital and you need 100 G's.
Yeah.
My line of credit, I can get that in 2 days.
Yeah.
But do I really want to have 100 G's sitting in the bank for 10 years in case that someday might happen?
Yeah. No.
No, right? You want
then
that
that's
deployed.
just worth.
It was doing nothing. It deployed. So for me, that's what I would say. I would want to have the access to the capital without the capital just sitting, like being stagnant, right?
Yeah, because I think that's what I'm doing now. It's literally, and it pisses me off though. Like I know that I shouldn't be doing it.
As an entrepreneur, you're like, something's wrong.
It's like it's like burning a hole in your pocket. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where do I put it? But then I'm like, but then I want to hoard it, and I'm like, fuck. Like,
There's ointments for those itches, though. Like you can go to Walgreens. Huh?
yeah.
But like that's the advice that I would give you and your listeners is like, don't sit on a ton of cash. Sit on some cash. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? 6 months of expenses or whatever. Pick a rule of thumb. Put that aside. And then the rest. Here's the other thing. Like you said earlier, dude, you're only 30. You're telling me that if your family didn't needed it, you wouldn't go out there and Uber 24 hours a day to make sure that. Of course. No questions asked.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing a disservice to your family, respectfully, by having so much cash sitting in the bank instead of it being deployed working for your future, but still having access to it. Remember, I buy houses, but I have lines of credit on them.
So even if I hypothetically, if I want to keep it simple, stupid, is like, if I have 300-400 in cash, go buy. What would you say? Go leverage a house, or just buy a house in cash, have that thing at least spitting out something, and then just put a line on the whole house.
I would buy probably 2 or 3 houses, so a little bit of eggs in different baskets. So I'd probably buy in like 2 or 3 neighborhoods, but large down payments to where you can get a 6-figure line of credit on each, let's say, right?
Okay.
And then that's all working. It's pumping out some cash flow. It's appreciating. You can watch it. It's like it's just 3 houses. If something's happening in one, just you can get rid of it.
Yeah.
You have high equity in it, so you can sell it quick.
Yeah.
And then have lines. So I would do something like 3 houses, 3 LLCs, line of credit on each LLC, and then that's just cost segregated, so you're not paying taxes for the next 3 years.
But you need to show 6 months of deposits to pull that line of credit, right? Typically.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna have it for 6 months, so sure you won't have access to that capital for 6 months.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
I get that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's kind of what I would do.
But what's the number? How much fucking cash do you want me to
he
hold
really
on?
wants a number. I can't. I don't have a number. there's not an answer to that. That's
That's where I think I like mind fuck
Yeah,
myself because
yeah.
I'm just like maybe I'm being paranoid, but I think it's like a good thing. I think
It's not a bad thing for sure. What is your number? What do you think it is? That's curious. What do you think it should be?
It used to be 100K, but then it's like, and then I got to 100K, and then I'm like, this isn't
It's
enough.
not enough. Yeah, dude. When you hit 20K cash flow, it's not enough.
Yeah.
I've hit it and it's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, it is enough, but it's not.
I think it's 100K. I think if I have 100K in the high yields that I don't touch, that's just sitting in cash, I could deploy the other 250, 300.
Then do that.
Yeah.
Do 100, deploy the other $250,000 into 2 or 3 houses, large down payments.
Yeah.
Get them from wholesalers so it has tons of equity.
Yeah.
Don't just go buy it on the market. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Go to wholesalers, say I want houses in those markets, wait till they come, buy them.
But everything you're saying is for somebody who, like, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody who's in the game and has time to go do that.
No. Because those houses that you're buying are going to be turnkey. I promise you they will be.
Okay.
You're not going to buy in D houses.
Okay.
You're going to go buy BA houses.
Yeah.
That probably won't have a lot of equity, but for sure won't have a lot of work to do with them. That'll just be some mom and like the wholesaler called them. They're moving. They're like, dude, I just don't want to do with it.
It's not like a flip. It's just somebody wants to buy it, right?
absolutely going to. It might be outdated at best, at most.
Okay.
And then that's just where. But remember, the only reason you're going to buy that house is because you're going to talk to your CPA and your bookkeeper first. They're going to give you your tax implication, and you're going to use that number to tell you to go buy a house. So now it's not an emotional decision. It's just a business, babe. You can talk to your wife. Take your beautiful wife out to dinner. This is where we made money. This is how much taxes I got. Instead of paying that to the IRS, I'm going to take that as a down payment to the next house.
Yeah.
And so forth and so on.
Yeah.
But now it's not an emotional. It's just a business decision.
Yeah. But I like emotions.
Oh, my God. Don't listen to this guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. But I think it's what's that saying? It's like, it's easier said than done. Because I'm just like, I think I'm just young and I got a lot of emotion behind the money.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't say I mean, I come from fucking East LA, right? The hood. Like, seeing that amount of money, like, I didn't think I would see that by 30. So it's like, you can't almost help but hoard it. But it's like, you need to fucking fight your urges and just deploy it.
Yeah.
So, what was like the I don't know how to even ask the question. Like, I'm sure at some point you were hoarding. You had to. I think everybody goes through that.
Everyone does.
So
Yeah,
it's
of course. Like a year ago.
Yeah, and it's like now that you're actually just like actively fucking deploying. And I think I need to just get over this.
The moment I realized that I needed to get rid of it was when I got that tax bill.
Got it. Yeah.
The problem wasn't that I paid it. You want to know what the problem was? That I had the money to pay it. That hurt me. That hurt me.
Yeah.
When I was like, I have the money to do this, and I have to.
Yeah.
But if this was in houses, they can't take that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so like if you had spent it, it would, yeah.
It's exactly right. There's a penalty for hoarding cash. The government knows that. That's why all rich folk don't have cash.
Yeah.
Like Grant Cardone says it all the time. He's like, he looks at his bank account and he's like, all right, how much do I need to spend? And what he's telling you is he needs to know how much he needs to spend for the IRS.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, like, I've been preached this too. Josh tells me, he's like, bro, I live off a line of credit.
Yeah, same. Oh, dude, same. I live off my line of credit and my refis.
I live off my line of credit.
We live off debt.
If you have a podcast with him, and I'm gonna clip this part out. Don't tell him that I exposed everything about him, because I just feel like I feel like you guys would have a good conversation. So just pull that out of him naturally.
Yeah.
Clip this part.
Classic.
But yeah, I feel like it would be a good conversation.
I think you're just like a step behind, like, where I'm at, where some of your friends and mentors are. Like, it's just about making those little tweaks in your business. You're doing great. You're crushing it. You're $300,000-$400,000 cash. You have a great business, beautiful family. You're healthy. You're doing all the things right. It's just about getting better and getting better, and just like little things that you hear and they're like, oh, I should do that. Oh,
but I think one of my like fucking what's that quote? It's like comparison is a thief of all joy. Like I can't help but like fuck, I'm behind. Fuck, like and it's so hard to get over that mind fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, and people tell me, and they're like, dude, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I'm 36. like
I was gonna say, do you know how many people are probably looking at you and like you're making it worse for them? This dude's 29 and he's like,
but then you got the fucking internet with these 18-year-old kids in the
don't
fucking.
Don't even get started.
And I'm like,
I hate it. I hate
what's
it
real?
So much.
What isn't? Like,
How many of those Lambos are rented?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is at the warehouse that I had when I was getting towards the tail end. One of my buddies in town, he runs an exotic rental company, and I would see the same motherfuckers. And you know what's crazy? And I don't know, people will get upset at this, but they had what they call a flex package. You know how
flex, like flex package?
Yeah, no, like to flex online.
Oh, okay.
Because you know how everybody assumes that your car's rented, but if you see your handle on it, it's not rented.
They'll put your handle
on it for the day.
Dude, you live in Vegas. Everything's here.
So I'm like, holy fuck! Like, dude,
how many of these dudes are?
So everybody that online that has their handle on it, and they make sure they show the handle, it might be rented. They might be playing for the flex package, guys.
Dude, I'm calling in for the flex. There is a guy in Nashville. Shout out to Paul.
Yeah,
he is African American dude, 26 maybe, I think.
Yeah,
maybe 26. He is one of those guys that would make you feel this big.
Yeah.
Not just because he's black, but like because like legit, he'll make you feel this little.
Yeah.
This dude makes so much money because he's figured out something about zoning. So what he will do is he'll go on the MLS.
Yeah.
And he'll buy a house. I don't know if your camera can see this, but he'll buy a house on the MLS that's got a lot like this.
Yeah.
And he will zone this off, sell this house, build a house back here, and sell it. And if I don't know if you're listening, but he just made $500,000 for free.
Yeah.
Because he just zoned this out, parceled this, sold it, builds a house over here, and all that's 100% profit.
Yeah.
Dude's making millions.
You know, it's so funny.
And he's 26. And I'm like, Paul, like, what? How did this? And I'll show you. Remind me to show you after the podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
I thought, Cap, I'm not going to lie. I thought, because I took the slow way to wealth. I'm not risk averse. Like, I'm like, I want it guaranteed, but I don't care how long it takes.
Yeah.
This dude's swinging dick, bro, because he'll go borrow, and I'm not joking, hard money millions at 12, 13%.
Yeah.
Big old swinging, right? He puts it on the table.
Yeah.
And just
he's black.
He's black. Just like, so it's probably something like that. Millions of dollars in private hard money.
Yeah.
And then sell those homes and make, like, I'm like, dude, how are you?
Yeah.
You aren't scared?
It's fucking, you know what's funny is that we just talked to a lawyer, a real estate lawyer.
26, dude. Just makes me feel, I'm like, oh, it's so bad. Like, I'm so behind.
You getting the shiny object syndrome? You want to go do that?
Oh, my God. No, I don't. No, I don't at all. Because I'm not risky like that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna swing $1 million on private money.
When I was taking the L's on this house with the RVs and stuff,
Yeah.
that was one of the things we were thinking about is subdividing.
Should.
Because we were like, we talked to a real estate lawyer and we're zoned for it. And we're like, what? Well, you can zone it, but because my house is in the front of the parcel, we'd have to add an easement. So apparently those usually suck at selling. They sell a lot less hard. So, and I would need to fork up probably all of my cash right now. And hypothetically, I could build a house in the back.
That's what I'm saying. He does, bro. He'll fork over $300,000. He'll front it himself.
Maybe we have the next move for
bro,
Rancho.
I will show you when we're done with this podcast.
Yeah.
If you remind me, he will swing $300,000 out of his pocket, build a house in the back, and 100% profit that house.
Because that's what I'm telling you. Like, if I could, because we talked to the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, yeah, your lot is zoned for 2 houses, and I have 1. He's like, you can build a house in the backyard completely legally, and then subdivide both, and then just sell 1 house off.
Yep, that's what he does.
So
he does that all day long, and he's on Zillow.
Maybe that's my move.
No, I mean, I think your move, what you're doing is great.
No, just for the 1 house.
Just for that one house.
Just for that 1 house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it as like a full-time thing.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
But I'm saying if I have that much cash, I don't know. It's just
it's wild what Paul does, and big shout out to him because it's just like you said, it's humbling to see.
Yeah.
And like at first I would get jealous, and now it's more like I'm clapping for people.
For sure.
Dude. Like
yeah.
now I'm like, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're doing that. Like,
yeah.
wish I would have found it when I was your age.
But everybody's on their
clapping
own. Yeah.
for you. So yeah.
Well, I mean, through this podcast, it's been cool to like that was, I guess that's still technically real estate, but like, I would say more it's like land flipping, I guess almost. Like,
Yeah.
But like seeing the amount of money people can make in other industries is insane for me. I had this guy on that he's flipping airplane engines. Right here, hear me out. It's a private equity company.
Sure.
They buy a retired airliner from American Airlines, one that's out of commission. They take both airplane engines off, and because airplanes can be 100% depreciated, they take the whole depreciation.
Jeez.
They take the fucking engines off. They refurbish them, sell them to Russian Airlines and fucking all these other. So the plane is they buy it for $4 million, depreciate the whole thing. They're all in for $2 million for 2 engines.
Tax break.
They spent $2 million on each engine, so they're all in for $8 million, but they can sell each engine for 10.
No way. But
Yeah.
see, those are the swings that I'm scared of. I don't want to have $10 million on my books.
Yeah, well,
Or
it's a
$8
private
million
equity
to
company.
sell it?
Like they fucking, it's all publicly. It's what is it called? Funded. Like it's all just regular investors that fucking.
Yeah.
When I learned that, I was like, bro, there's money everywhere. Like if I'm broke, it's my fault.
Oh, dude, I would
Like-
it is not your fault how you're born, but it is your fault how you die.
Yeah.
100%.
You like
I would agree.
you're dealt
There's
the
too
cards
much
you're dealt,
opportunities.
but you got to fucking play them the best you can. That's all you can do.
I've seen
and that's why I used to
everything.
like. I used to be very not bitter. I don't know what the word is, but like when I was in college, I had some fraternity friends who grew up very well off and rich, and I was like, man, you guys don't got grit. You guys don't know what
You
it's
ain't
like.
got that dog in
Yeah,
you.
you ain't got that shit. Yeah, and now I'm just like, honestly, like if you lose it, that's on you. But like if you are dealt those cards and you leverage the fuck out of them, and you actually dude, dope.
Yeah.
But like I used to be very bitter towards those people, and I learned a lot recently to like. Why that doesn't affect me, bro. You're dealt the cards you're fucking dealt.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking Mexican, and that's what it is.
Yeah, there we go. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I used to be the same way. I'd look at people and be like, man, he's 26, 27. I've been in the game longer. I should be farther. And then it just make me bitter.
Yeah.
And like that's why earlier when you asked me about like what advice, I'd be like, well, first start with gratitude of where you're at. Because you're crushing it. And like I told you should look at that statistic of how many Hispanic pilots there is. I don't know anyone but you. So like you should like and like start putting those metrics. It's like I'm in the 1% of that. I'm in the how long have you been married?
4 years.
4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
right?
4 or 5
Like,
years.
how many Hispanic people's
that out.
marriages last that long?
Yeah,
and happy and like all these metrics but we tend to look at the one metric of someone else's life.
Yeah, I've recently like been aware of that because I was like sitting on my porch the other day, and
You
I
got
was
a
like,
porch, dude.
Yeah.
Sitting on my back porch looking at my property, and I should be grateful for this.
But no, I literally thought I was like, damn, like I'm like not stressed about making this house payment, like, and it's like it's the little shit, but like, and it's funny enough. I would say Josh has been a big mentor of mine now.
Sure.
He's telling me the same shit. He's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know how many people would like kill to be in your position?
Yeah.
And I can't almost be grateful for it because you want to hit that next milestone, and that it's like. I don't know, bro. I don't even know where we're going with this, but like, I just feel like, I feel like I like to tell you about it because you saw me 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like not a lot of people saw me 5 years ago. So like, because I've also like learning that you outgrow friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
we should talk about that.
And I'm recently doing that, and it's really hard to implement. But like, I was in the fraternity. I did the party thing, bro. I was a drunk. I was an alcoholic. I was waking up, taking shots, going to work. Like I was
wild.
I was nuts.
You're that guy.
And like I had a few friends visit me recently, and they're like trying to party, and I'm like, and then after they left, I called them and I was like, hey man, like thanks for coming and visit me, but like I don't think you should come anymore.
Wow. How was that? How hard is that to make that?
It
call?
was a weirdly awkward conversation. He's like, what, bro? Like, we're just hanging out, you know, like old time. I was like, I mean, not in old times anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
And, like, I was just drunk as fuck for 4 days. And, like, I'm not
that,
trying to do that.
Yeah.
And
That's not it anymore.
So now I'm trying to, like, not cut friends out, but, like, you just outgrow them. And it's nothing, like, it's no hate towards them. It's like, I hope you have a great life, but I think we're just not going to do it.
Yeah, I remember sending that. I sent a text to a group that I had from college.
Yeah.
I remember that text a couple years ago where it was like something similar. I was like, hey, like I'm not, going to be active on this thread. Like just not going to be talking. I'm not going to be going to the parties. Not going to be doing any things anymore. And I remember exiting the, you know how you can exit a group? And like one of my buddies screenshotted Felipe exit and like, that's the last message I have from him.
Yeah.
Where I just exited where it said like Felipe is out of the group or whatever.
Yeah.
Group text. So I remember that as well. And it felt weird.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes to grow, you have to grow out of some of those gardens that you're planted in for sure.
And I'm like trying to now, especially being new to Vegas, like a lot of the people that I'm surrounded with, they've all known each other for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I'm like the new kid on the block.
Right.
That's like, who the fuck is this guy? Just like, And I'm like trying to like not force my way, but like strategically.
Sure.
And I think I've done a job, like a pretty good job at like getting into the right circles. But at the same time, I don't want it to sound like I'm like a fucking stalker, but I am in like a weird way being tactical of like what I'm doing. And now it's awkward. I'm like at a stage where like I don't have like a boys group that like I used to, because I'm like I'm trying to like fucking find new boys, I guess.
New guys,
yeah. But at the same time, it's like I'm being strategic with who I pick. But now I do have more people asking me to hang out, and I'm like,
I think it's gonna, for you, it's probably gonna start becoming of that like you're gonna be the mentor role type of thing to other people. So like maybe the days of like you partying and things might be different, but maybe now it's gonna be you mentoring other people. And like maybe you don't feel like you're like, no, who am I to mentor other people?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta think about it that way too. Maybe there's some people out there that need your help and support here in Vegas of like, so instead of I'm not saying stop looking for mentors and other like the boys group, like you said, because we all need that, right?
Yeah.
We all need to scale and grow. But at the same time, I think you could like, don't close the door to opportunity of someone saying, hey, can you help me start?
Yeah.
Someone helped you at some point. Someone helped me at some point. Right?
Yeah.
And that's a great way to make friends as well. Not necessarily friends. We're over here talking like we don't have friends, but like just people that you want. People that you want in your circle.
Yeah.
The people that I would tell you to be weary of are going to be the people that are like just trying to suck information out of you or like suck your time. Because those people suck.
Yeah. I mean, that's even
worst.
happened recently. Like, I might have to clip this out. I'll get it approved. But like, we get a lot of the agents in the office that are new agents, and they see like us doing stuff, and then all of a sudden they're trying to be our friends, and then it's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, how are you doing this? And it's like they're just fucking like information sucking.
Yeah, that's all they want.
And I'm like, okay, like I'm not fucking trying to like be friends with you. And then like there's this one agent that recently came to the office, and like he was like cool, try to be my friend. Has been asking me to hang out every weekend. I'm like, bro, like no. Yeah. And then I start seeing him post stories of like selling automation and shit, and I was like, bro, you don't know shit about what you're selling, bro. Like you're not the first. I followed right away. I was like, you're not the type of guy I want to associate with.
Yeah.
But it's just like now I feel like I'm getting. You're right. I think it's weird. Like now people are looking up to me in a way to like. That's a weird concept. I just put that together. Yeah.
No, people are gonna start looking up and trying to figure out like what you're doing, how you did it, how you got there.
Yeah.
And like I said, you just got to be really careful and wary of certain people, because what'll happen is you'll pick one, you'll start helping, and the moment you don't help anymore, you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And you're the bad guy. Like I post this on my social media all the time. I get some of my mentees that'll like send me a text. It's like, hey Felipe, I didn't get my loan approved with this one bank. What do I need to do now? Like literally the very next step. I'm like, okay, go talk to 20 banks before you text me a third time.
Yeah.
Right. And some people are like, oh, okay, that's awesome. Some people are like, dude, that's kind of jerk. Why do I have to? I'm like, dude, I'm literally telling you what to do, and you're not even taking my advice there.
Yeah.
Like so you have to like be able to know to cut it in the.
Yeah. Like some people just aren't coachable because they think they almost have a chip on their shoulder where they're like, oh, like I know this, like, but they don't. And so
they don't know the grind we've been through.
Yeah.
They don't know the 3 L's you took to get to that property to finally produce what you wanted to produce. They just wanted to produce. They just want level 4 where it took you 3 levels to have.
Yeah, but I mean, I burned probably 5-6 months of mortgages, which is a 5 month, for 5 months, I spent $5,000 a month,
20, 30 grand,
20, 30 grand to get it to cash flow. So it's like, really, I'm still negative for 3 months because I had to spend that money. But people were like, oh,
they just see the 10,000 cash flow.
Yeah. Damn. All right.
That
was good. Anything else you wanna talk about?
No,
I feel
man,
like
that was awesome.
you helped me a lot. Like, I think I have some homework to do.
We helped your listeners a lot.
Yeah.
You just
was
got
good.
some of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But where can people find you? I know. Actually, I want to ask that. What in terms of like growing your social media? Like, I see. Do you have a team right now?
No, it's just me.
Because I see you're like
this
pretty
day, it's
active.
just
Do
me.
you have an editor or anything? Because I see a lot of your stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can tell it's. I was gonna say I can tell it's not like professionally edited, but like a lot of it's raw and it's good. How do you run your business and do all that and maintain social? Because for Josh and for myself, we're so busy that we're outsourcing our social medias to our team.
To your team.
But then our teams don't always get like the vision that we want. So like a lot of it's overproduced and that. How are you maintaining your social media without a team?
Yeah. So there's 2 things, right? I've noticed in social media, there's just two type of like influencers.
Yeah.
There's the hyper edited, which is going to do really well, and then there's the raw that also do really well.
Yeah.
For example, Thatch. Thatch has one guy that follows him around with a camera, edits the video, and posts it.
Yeah.
And like he's got over 1 million followers.
Yeah.
And then like there's people that I know like Leo and Ryan and some of these other guys, hyper overproduced and edited and all that, but they also have millions of followers, right? So I've leaned more towards the raw side.
Yeah.
I've leaned more towards literally just pick up my phone, make a video, use the captions app, and then throw it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because just like you, or sorry, not just like you, but what I've realized is, actually, I realized this from a mistake, funny enough. I had a TikTok go hyper viral. It went like 15 million views. And it ruined my TikTok because it was the wrong people to follow me. What happened was there was a bomb that went off in Nashville next door to the bars.
That video.
Yep, that video.
Didn't they try to buy that video from you?
Everyone did.
Yeah.
So what happened was my brother-in-law was friends with police officers who got the video from the actual camera that recorded it, and then I recorded it off of their phone, just off their phone or off of his phone. I can't remember anymore. And the video was super viral, and I got a bunch of people to follow me, and it ruined my TikTok because now every time I post a video, I only have followers from the people that wanted to see cars blow up.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't care about real estate. So what I made sure not to do on my Instagram was hyper edit. I wanted it to be real estate and raw of things that I'm learning at the time, which is why I think my social media does well. And I feel like I have true followers, not viewers. So if you can identify the difference between followers and viewers, I think you'll do a lot better.
Yeah.
And for me, I want followers, not viewers. I don't want my reel to do 50,000 views. Or I mean, I guess I do, but I don't want it to be a bunch of people that are viewing. I want it to be engaged. Like I want people that are like, hey, I'm doing a mastermind and like 30 people, want to join or something. So.
And you're because I actually looked at it before you came on. You're at 92,000 followers now.
93.
And you've never bought a follower, right?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that until recently.
Yeah.
I saw that there were. So I always thought like, oh, you buy followers, cool. You tell a bunch of people to follow you. Like I thought that's what it meant. But recently I've heard that it's like, how do you do it?
Yeah. There's like giveaway campaigns where like Floyd Mayweather is gonna post a story that says go follow everybody that this page is following, and you can win this purse.
How do I talk to Floyd Mayweather to do that? Because I would pay for that. Yes.
There's giveaway campaigns. So there's agencies that go and start these campaigns. That's one way to buy followers, and then there's just bot followers. You can go on buyfollowers.com, and then you can pay $50 for like a few thousand followers or whatever the number is.
Yeah, no. I don't do that. No.
We had a couple people so we've kind of had this debate where like some people we met I think Andy Elliott's content manager or whatever. Once he got to like 20,000 followers, they bought 80. They're like, oh, once you're at 20,000, you just buy
get
some.
to 100.
Just get to 100, and then it's like it's more of like the crowds create crowds thing. But like Josh, we've refused to buy followers, but we recently hit like this little fucking like hockey stick. Like we were like all of last year, it took us all year to get from like 2,000 followers to like 7,000, and now he just hit 14,000 like 2-3 days ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
So it's like he's finally seen that momentum.
Yeah.
But we're like, okay, this is good. Like, let's keep growing because the goal with him is kind of the same thing in terms of like he's coaching a little bit, but like it's really more of like mindset coaching. He doesn't really love the real estate coaching stuff.
Yeah.
But now we want to start a community and do the whole school thing and like maybe do something like that where it's more of a community, not necessarily.
Dude, I've seen people making millions with less than 20,000 followers.
Yeah,
and I know people that have 400,000 or 500,000 that don't know how to monetize it at all.
That's what I'm saying.
They're like selling coffee mugs for other people.
Yep.
And it's like, no, I don't want that.
I think the term's been influencer broke, or there's like influencer.
You're in the game, so you know more than I do.
Yeah, there's like an influencer broke term where it's like you're just like audience rich, but you don't know how to monetize.
That's called viewers.
Yeah.
So you have viewers, you
Yeah.
don't have followers.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So when you ask me about, like, that's why I don't edit mine.
Yeah.
Mine are super like a stand and like my phone and my DJI mic. So
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah.
And it just comes across, I think, more authentic.
Because that's what I'm trying to. I think it's hard for. I'm trying to implement that for mine, especially because I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand. Because I'm trying to unbrand myself from the e-com world. Because a lot of people still know me for that. And I'm going through this thing where like I'm looking for like my 3 pillars. Because like what am I going to talk about? So I think I'm going to talk about is veteran benefits, because I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of their veteran benefits, and I do.
Yep.
Pilot stuff and marketing. I want to talk about those 3 things.
Done.
But I like right now I'm so sensitive to the editing. I'm like, I just need to fucking start talking about it. I just need to fucking post. And I'm even telling Josh he needs to do that for his stuff, but he's like, I don't have the time for that. I was like, okay. So he's doing more of the Ryan approach where he films once a week, and then he just the team handles it.
I tried that, and it was so staged. It was like, these are the 3 things that you need to do to buy real estate. Number 1, and it's like, dude.
Yeah.
So like, I sit down and talk about stuff that actually happened. So like, one of my posts recently that I did really well was I was at the gym. A girl that I knew from college was there, and she's got a great construction company. Shout out to her. And she was like, "Hey," her name is Nancy. I was like, "Nancy, how did it? Why aren't you posting about it? Like, you do great stuff." And she's like, "My family like puts me down when I do post it." She's like, "They tell me that like they just judge my stuff."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "That's terrible." And I was like, "Man, that's a lot in our Latino community." I gave her a little bit of confidence. I think you should do it. Blah blah. Went about my way. And the next day, I sat on my porch and I talked about that. Like that was it.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah, it's none
fancy.
of the fluff shit. Yeah, and honestly, right now the algorithm's favoring the
raw stuff.
shit.
I think, for sure.
So, all right, that was the last piece of advice I needed. So
that's it, man.
And
I guess I'm done.
Yeah,
I guess I
get the fuck out.
Right. There's the door. Look.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Anything else you want to plug?
No, man. Just Abacus, my bookkeeping company. The goal is 100 clients by the end of the year. We're close to like 35. It's a slow grind for sure. We haven't started ads yet, so definitely hit me up for if you need bookkeeping. Everyone can find me at Felipe Mejia REI. I'm sure it'll be in your notes section here, but that's it.
Perfect. And then if you need to run ads, let us know.
100%.
All right. Catch you guys on the next one.